Good evening and thanks for joining us. All indications are tonight the United States is poised for an attack on Syria. The American Defense Secretary says the U.S. military is ready to go when President Obama gives the go-ahead. He spent today consulting with his allies, including Canada. Britain's Prime Minister David Cameron says the intention is not to enter into another Middle East war, but to send a message to the Syrian regime. We have complete coverage tonight from London and from Washington, where Eric Sorensen begins our reporting tonight. Eric?
Donna, there is little doubt that a U.S.-led military strike into Syria is coming, likely within days. U.S. warships are positioned in the Mediterranean, now ready to launch attacks the moment the order is given by the U.S. president.
The options are there. The United States Department of Defense is ready to carry out those options.
At the White House, President Obama was lining up support for a military strike that looks imminent.
The president himself, as we've read out to you, has had consultations with Canadian Prime Minister Harper today.
On that call, Prime Minister Harper made it clear he shares the view that the recent chemical weapons attack was carried out by the Syrian regime, which merits a firm response from the international community in an effective and timely manner. The horrors of those images of civilians, including children, in agony and dying from chemical weapons apparently tipped the balance in favor of military action.
It must be responded to, because to allow it to happen without a response would be to invite further use of chemical weapons.
An attack would be led by the United States, with likely military support from Great Britain or France, with political, if not military backing from Germany, Canada, Australia, and Turkey, and members of the Arab League. Arab members which met today are an important show of support within the region for intervention. We condemn this crime, says the Arab League Secretary General. The international community is responsible for taking the proper moves to end the use of these weapons. But Syria has its own supporters in Russia, China, and Iran, which has vowed a wider war if there's an attack. In Syria, the government denied using chemical weapons and says Syria will defend itself with all means possible. Any attack would most likely come from cruise missiles offshore, aimed at Syrian command centers and at artillery and airfields. Targets would not include chemical weapons sites, too dangerous, or President Assad himself. It's not about regime change.
We're at a stage now where we need to show the use of force. There needs to be pressure, much greater pressure than in the past, to make a political solution possible.
Clearly, the Americans can launch a devastating attack. The vexing question is, then what? What will the Syrians do? What will their allies do? Donna?
Lots of questions. And Eric, can you help clarify Canada's response? Is there any indication our military would play a role?
Well, Canadian officials have made a point about not talking about a Canadian military response. In fact, there are no Canadian vessels in the Mediterranean. And in fact, if this amounts to a 3-day attack with cruise missiles, that wouldn't involve Canadian military hardware anyway. What Canada can offer, and I think we saw that today from the Prime Minister, is political support, and that's not unimportant. And I think he did so when he said that Canada supports the view that the Syrians are to blame, and also supports the view that there must be, quote, a firm response.
All right, Eric Sorensen, thank you.